afternoon. Welcome to Mercy Grace. Happy 4th of July. Hopefully we all get to celebrate today for our independence, but not only for our independence, but for the reason for this day, for the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Hopefully we all still know what that means, because it is the only thing still holding our poor country together, and they are trying to strip us of every right of it, literally. Starting with the very first two most important ones on that Declaration of Independence. But that's nor here nor there. We're here to rejoice in Him and celebrate the day. So we are going to be talking about finding our strength in the Lord, and not in the world, and not in the ways that the world has told us is okay, in the ways that the world has told us that we're supposed to go, and where we're supposed to flee to for refuge, but actually fleeing to the Lord like we're supposed to. As Tyler Perry says, and I posted this on our Mercy Grace page, you can find it if you go a couple months back, but he explained people as a tree. We're all a tree in this world, and we all have leaves, and those leaves, they come and they go. We'll have a bunch of leaves in life. That's just the way it is. They'll give us shade every once in a while. They might protect us from some rain, but in a season they shed away. That's just the way it is. They were never meant to stay with you. We are meant to learn from them, but never meant to keep them. We are meant to be nourished by them, but never meant to keep them, ladies and gentlemen. And then you have your branches in life. And your branches have been through some things. They seem strong and they seem firm when they come into your life. And they seem like they're going to be there forever. And these are the things that they say to you too. So you think that, you go step out on them and you might be able to make it across. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we all find out that when you step on that branch, it starts to crack. And then as you keep stepping on that branch, it in turn breaks. And that branch is no longer with you anymore. It falls away and it dies. And you have those people in your life. And those people seem like they're going to be there forever. They seem like they're the ones that we're supposed to hold near and dear to our hearts. And yes, I am talking about your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, the one that you hold near and dear to your heart. These people, if you step to them and stand up for yourself, and they break, and they don't hear you, then you need to think about what you're implanting into your tree, ladies and gentlemen. But your roots are forever. You only get a few of those, but they will stand with you until the test of time, until the good Lord gets us home or takes them home. That's just the way it is. And we hold those roots near and dear in our hearts. Always. We never let go of them. Why? Because they're infuriated into us. We literally cannot live without them. So when bad things happen to our roots, it damages the tree. It hurts it. And there's really no way of ever getting past that. And that's understandable. For a damaged tree cannot get past a bad root. But we grow from it. We learn from it. And we strengthen ourselves in it. That is what we're made to do. Because yes, in a time, our tree will eventually go home. So we have to understand that some of our roots may make it there before us. But they're in a better place. A lot better one than where we are right now. But it's hard to remember that. It's hard to forgive the Lord for things that we think are unjust and unfair and that we don't deserve. It's hard to understand that God is not responsible for everything that happens to us, and that sometimes we are the ones to blame because we invite certain things into our life not knowing what we're inviting, just by the way we feel or by the way we act or by the things we do, trying to care for ourselves in the way that the world has showed us. But the problem is we've gotten so far away in this country on the real way of how to care for ourselves, how to love ourselves, how to find our peace, how to find our mercy, so that we can be okay in this world, so we can wake up with a smile on our face and rejoice in the day that the Lord has gave us. Because sometimes that's a lot harder said than done. So I'm going to read a little bit to you, and then I'm going to actually be letting my husband take over this service. He is an amazing man who has an amazing story to tell. He's been through quite a bit in his life, but he, of all people, has a very heart-wrenching story that he has lived through, he has grown through, and he has found a way to live in it now and make it his testimony instead of dwelling in it and making it his grave. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the valley is only as deep as you make it. It's up to us whether we find our way out or whether we sit there and turn into dry bones. Anyways, Mark chapter 2, verse 19. And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is still with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and them shall they fast in those days. No man also seweth a piece of new clothes on an old remnant, or else sew new pieces, or filled up taketh away from the old. And the remnant is made worse. It's true, right? Take a vintage car, and you decide not to go buy the proper parts for it, and you add new parts to it, the quality value drops, right? Take an historian house, and you don't make it out of the materials that it was made before. You don't particularly look for those materials when you remodel. It drops in value, correct? It's exactly what the Lord is explaining to you here. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doeth burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled. And the bottles be marred, and the new wine must be into new bottles. What he is telling us here, ladies and gentlemen, the old ways, the ways of the covenant, the ways of the ark, the ways of the priests and the Pharisees, that's all gone. It's exactly what he's telling his disciples here. That now it's the time for the bridegroom and bride. And we have been in that time for a little over 2,000 years now. And it is a beautiful time. Because now it's the time of the coming of the bridegroom, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason that we experience what we experience on a daily basis is because he is away from us. And if we push ourselves away from him, he becomes even farther and farther away from us. And that is the truth. It is up to you whether you surround yourself in him with your music, with what you watch, with what you read, with what you do, or whether you decide to surround yourself with the world. But whatever you surround yourself with is what will come back to you. Words have power. It is the little devil on this world that no man can control. And those words, we will reap. For everything that we sow, we reap, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, I ask you all to please listen to my husband and to understand his story and his truth and hope for a better day and understanding that the Lord is our refuge. He is the only one we need. That if we mount up on him, we will soar on wings of eagles, and we will not grow weary nor faint. For even our children grow weary and faint, but we will not, because we strengthen ourselves in the Lord and we wait upon him, ladies and gentlemen.
Anywho, that was my better half. I'm the worst half. So, I hope everybody has a good 4th of July. I love 4th of July. I like blowing things up. So, I'm really looking forward to tonight. We went all out on fireworks. But I'm going to start my story off because it's been popping up a lot here lately. A whole lot. So much so that I pretty much have to talk about it. But there's going to be a few people watching this that I already know are going to be, they need to hear it. But anyway, let me start at the beginning. My brother, who, I lost in 2015. A long time ago, we had a good relationship. We had, we went fishing, Kentucky Dam especially. We was always at the Kentucky Dam. We did this constantly. Had a great relationship. There's even signs now down at the Kentucky Dam where it says no snagging past the bridge, and that's because of me and my brother. We actually got caught by the game warden while we was down there because we were a few feet past the bridge. Now, we didn't know that at the time, and we were snagging Asian carp. So, as we were doing it, having fun, the game wardens were walking down towards us and asking us if we were catching a lot, and we were like, yeah, we're just sitting there snagging right in front of them and don't even know that we're not supposed to. Anyway, regardless, they took our poles and we got a ticket. Went to court and everything, and we said there were no signs, so the judge ordered some signs put up. So every time I go to the Kentucky Dam, I see those signs. Like, we made our mark down there at the Kentucky Dam. But what I'm fixing to tell you is a huge problem with a lot of people. Because my brother had an accident. It was a four-wheeler accident, and basically the four-wheeler kind of tipped over, and he caught it with his leg, and it messed his knee up to the point he had to have knee surgery. So he went in for knee surgery, and of course when you have surgery, they're going to give you pain pills, all that stuff. Well, they did, and they gave him quite a lot. They gave him 90, I think it was lower tab 10s a month, and he was on that for the best of my recollection, for like at least 7-8 months. And I remember saying to somebody, man, he's going to have a heck of a time coming off of that when they decided to stop it. And they did. They stopped it. He started hitting withdrawals. Well, not too long after that, he started having kidney stones. Well, he went to the doctor, and like always, which I'm going to say, these doctors are famous for prescribing pills, which is ridiculous. So, like, if you break your arm and you get it in a cast, do you expect to still have a cast on 15 years down the road? Like, no, within a few months you expect to have that cast off. You don't just keep going with it. Well, they prescribed him more stuff at that point. So now he's on 2 or 3 different medications. So he starts going to, later on down the road, pain clinics. They give him more. Yet this whole while, we're not even looking into what this guy's taking. Like, it's enough to kill an elephant by the end of the day. Like, I mean, it was enough pill bottles to line a table. Well, everything seemed good, and he was going good, even taking all this stuff or whatever, and it went on for a year or two. Then, that's when the demon started rearing its ugly head. He hit depression. He started even having hallucinations on some of the stuff that they were giving him. So I stayed in contact constantly with him, over and over and over. And at this time, prior to my brother, I had 3 people in my family that I stayed very, very close to. That was my grandmother, my grandfather, my brother. Those were the 3. I lost all 3 in, like, I think a 3-year period. So it was my grandfather, my grandmother, and then soon to be my brother. Well, after all the pills and everything, he started saying things like almost in a jokingly way, like it was kind of odd, but you almost didn't take it serious the way he said it. Was he tried to attempt suicide, like, but you didn't really take that serious. Like, I talked to him about it just in case, but the way he said it, it was almost like it was a joke. Well, he'd hit little spurts like that where he would say things, and then we'd go fishing, and then we'd stay out fishing, all that stuff, like doing what we did, or maybe even go ride go karts, whatever we could get into. Well, as time went, the drugs started having no effect because you're building up an immunity at some point, and I can only imagine what his immune system was because of everything that he was saying. Like, it was just insane. He ends up with pneumonia, ends up in the hospital in Madisonville, as a matter of fact. There was me, my brother, and two other people trying to tell the doctor, like, everything that this man is taking. We told him, we know it's not good, all that stuff. And they said, oh, okay, we'll do something about it or whatever. No, they gave him more stuff. Again, I don't know if you know, but I'm getting to the point I don't like doctors at all. Like, they're the enemy to me, almost. I know there's good doctors out there. Just like I know there's people that don't like cops, all that stuff, because they had bad experiences. But our medical system is screwed. Like, to put it point blank. Not to mention there's so many people out there, because I tell my wife all the time, I was working at a few places. One of them was over the road a few years ago, where we went and did chemical towers. And you had to get in there, you had to water blast them, and, you know, you were there for 16 hours, whatever. And I was always naturally there, but tired, or whatever. Because you're naturally going to be tired, working 16 hours, and just day in, day out, day in, day out. But when you got off 3 or 4 days. But I slowly started to realize there's so many people taking pills, and that's why they were so happy while they were working. Like, I thought they were hard workers. Like, no, they would. I mean, if I was on cloud nine, I wouldn't mind doing shit either. But the thing is, my brother, he's not the only one that this has happened to. Like, there's a few other people today that I see it happening. Like, people that I talk to every week. Like, there's a friend of mine that I bump into every once in a while. He's in the same situation, same thing. But all we know is we have this miracle drug that is going to fix everything. And that's so not the case. Well, back to my brother. Later on, as things started to increase, and he was taking his pills and all that stuff, and it started to not work. So what happens when something doesn't work? You start to look at other places. People tried going to another pain clinic, all that stuff. Well, now we're deep into his pill taking. I'm trying to make this short because, I mean, I could write a book on this. He starts looking at other places, then he gets popped because he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now he's in jail. Well, he gets out. I think he was only in jail for like 2 or 3 days. He gets out. And then now, not only does he have a habit problem, now he's worried about what's going to happen to him in court. So now he starts really ramping up just suicidal thoughts. So at this point, I'm starting to reach out to other people being like, man, we need to like really watch him like closely, because at this time I was an hour away from where he lived. So it's not like I could just hop in the car and just be there. Well, I did. I told who I needed to tell. And his wife, God bless her soul, she's a very strong woman. She didn't bust me out that I had said something. Like, she actually just was checking on him, all that stuff, and somehow he became even more paranoid. And that didn't help. So anyway, he's constantly coming over to my house now, and then constantly on the phone with him. And he's telling me how does the court system work and stuff because he has no record whatsoever. I think the only time he went to court was over a speeding ticket. So now he's worried about what's going to happen to him. And I tell him that, look, you don't have any priors or anything like that. They'll probably put you maybe on a 5-year diversion, and you can work it out because I know he could do it if they put him on a 5-year diversion because he's just not the criminal type. And he goes to court, and sure enough, that didn't happen. He got 5 years sentenced prison, and then they put him on a working crew. So now he's on the working crew. And I was thinking maybe at this time that might have been a little bit of a blessing, because, he can get a little bit sober. Maybe come through that stuff. But I know once you get back out, I know the addiction is always going to be there. Well, as he's working 3 or 4 months go by or whatever, and then all of a sudden, he said the guard, where they were out working, come up to him and asked him, do you want to go home? And then he said, well, yeah, I would like to. He said, but that's not possible. So, anyway, the guard was joking with him about it. And he said, well, when we get back, you're going home. Or whatever. And he was shocked that he was getting out. So, yeah, he got out and they put him on probation and all that stuff. So now he's back home. So with the withdrawals and everything, now he's to the point he has to go see a psychiatrist. He went to a psychiatrist. And keep in mind, this is a guy who never had any issues. None. Like, I looked up to him. But at the same time, you're sitting there watching him die, too. But it ends up, he goes to a psychiatrist after that. And then they give him some more stuff, which is crazy, man. We're all about these pills, aren't we? Gives him more stuff. And here he is, again, messed up. And then he starts to hallucinate on the pills. So, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow we got him off that medication. Or they switched it or something, and the hallucinations stopped, I thought. Or he just shut up about them. Because I remember asking him randomly one day, are you still seeing like random things or whatever? And then he just didn't even answer me. So I kind of took that as a yeah. But after that, we started going to the pain clinics again. He started having kidney stones again. And we started doing that more and more. Again, we're going right back down the same road again. So not only is he doing this, and he has the addiction, now he's paranoid, all that stuff, because he has a probation officer, all that good stuff. And he has a prescription for this stuff, obviously, but he's just wrecked constantly. Time goes by as we're doing this, and I'm staying in constant touch. We're still going fishing, all the stuff, trying to stay active, doing our things. Time goes by, and then he starts to speak of more suicide. So now at this point, I'm really trying to talk him down out of this stuff. And at the same time, I am the only one, pretty much, that he's consoling him. He's not telling anybody else this. It's just me. Because he said he trusted me. So I'm doing the best I can. And he'll send me messages every once in a while saying, hey, can you come over or whatever. And if I could, I would. I'd drop what I did and I would go. And I'd go over there. We'd hang out, do whatever, cook some burgers, anything that would take his mind off of something. Shoot guns. We all like guns. So we did that. And time kept on going. And the suicidal thoughts didn't go away. So now I'm really ramping it up on other people of we got a problem, like, and we need to fix it. So I did, and his wife started checking on him more. The She would call him from work to make sure he was okay. All that, doing the best that we could to keep an eye on him. Well, I get this message. I think it was on a Saturday. I got a message on a Saturday, and it was, "Could you come over?" And I couldn't because I was working. And he said, "Okay." On Sunday, he called me. We talked. It wasn't nothing out of the ordinary, and it was like a normal conversation, talking about fishing, other things. Monday comes around, and I get a text message that says, "Can you come see me?" He was like, "I really need you to see me." Now keep in mind, I'm the only one he's really talking to. And again, I'm working. So I couldn't do it. Well, the next day, I tried to call him. There's no answer on the phone. Uh, One of, I think his wife's uncles or something tried to call him. He didn't get an answer. And then Daphne tried to call him, and she didn't get an answer, and she was at work. So she left work, just used, I guess, a half a vacation day or something, and headed on towards the house because she was remembering everything that I had said. So when she gets to the house, goes in the house, my brother's not there. Car's there, everything, but like he's nowhere to be seen. So she goes walking through everywhere. She's thinking maybe he's out, he liked hunting arrowheads too, and they had woods next to the house, a creek, all that stuff. So she goes back out there. She starts looking, and the only reason why she's looking, she said, or told me, was because of what I said. Like, I told him we need to keep an eye on him. Well, she goes out, and this is why I say she's such a strong woman, because I just don't know how you deal with it. Because she goes out, and she leaves the house, and she's going up, like, towards the woods, or the wooded area. Well, as she gets into the woods or whatever, there's a deer stand right there. They have facing a field right there. And right there is where he hung himself. She walked straight up on him. And I don't even know how that that you even give me just a second. Anywho, feelings are still raw. But I don't know how you walk up on something like that. Like, I just don't. Then I remember getting the phone call, and it was Daff. It wasn't Jeff. It was just his wife. And she said, "You need to get down here immediately." And I knew as soon as she said that, because she would never say that. She would never tell me to get down there as fast as I did. And the way she did. So I did. And then my mother is tagging along. She has no clue. And which she knew that he had these suicidal thoughts, all that stuff. And the whole time I'm sitting there trying to tell myself that maybe he just kind of maybe OD'd or something and he's sick and he's going to the hospital or something. But like deep down in my gut, I knew different. I knew it was completely different. So I'm trying to keep her calm the entire time. And we're all coming down here to Katie's, all that stuff. And when we get there, there's a bunch of cars in the driveway. And we already know, usually when there's a bunch of cars in the driveway, that's when somebody's passed. Why? Because there's a bunch of people over. And then now they're there to help people grieve. Well, I get out, and then so does my mom. And I actually hadn't officially heard it yet, but deep down I knew. I just knew it. I hadn't heard it yet. And his wife walks up and then tells my mom, which I knew what she was going to tell her. I just knew it already. And I'm going to tell you something. That was the worst scream I'd ever heard in my life. I've never heard my mom scream like that. She found out. Well, she's having problems. She still does every once in a while because of this. But the thing is, like I said, there's going to be people watching this, and I know they're going to watch, that have the same problems. But it doesn't end there. So after all this, the funeral, all that stuff, after we found out, and we did the funeral, it was like a 3-day funeral. So now, my work gives me off, I think it was somewhere like 3 or 4 days where I was working. And in that 3 or 4 days, everybody noticed a complete different change in me. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now, that is the darkest and scariest place I've ever been in my life. There is not a man that walks this earth that could threaten me with anything. That it was just a completely different dimension that I have never dealt with. So, me feeling like I'm directly involved with his death now, because I was the only one talking to him, and I feel like I could have thwarted it somehow, some way. But looking back, I believe it was going to happen regardless. But I hit this little depression area where it lasted a good 3 to 4 weeks. So much so that even on the time that they gave me off, which was like 3 or 4 days, I remember sitting on a couch, and I was so deep in thought that I was just staring at a wall. And I remember I had people over at my house, even one of my friends, but I wasn't saying nothing. Like, I was just completely quiet. Like, I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I was at fault. Like, it was just the darkest place I've ever been in my life. Like, I never want to go through it again. And I know it gets darker. I know there's darker places than that. And that is very, very scary. Because I've never just felt so shut down, staring at walls for hours, not saying anything. Even my friends was asking me if I'm okay and all that stuff, and I would just say, yeah. I kept everything short and sweet. Even when I went back to work after they gave me 3 or 4 days off, my head was hung, and I would say nothing. And people started to notice, because I like to joke around when I'm at work. I do. I say stupid stuff. I like to make people laugh. All that. And then when I went back to work, everybody was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear, about what happened, all that stuff, and that was nice. But as I was working, I wasn't saying anything. Even I had 2 supervisors, even 2 of them, both of them, noticed that I was not right. Like, because, it was just, I was completely silent. Every time they see me, my head was down. So they gave me more days off because they thought I needed it, and which I thought was nice. So I did. I took the more days off. But the more days off didn't help. So what did I do again? I just sat there. Not interested in nothing. Not interested in going out with friends. Not interested in what anybody had to say. I just sat there. Because in my own mind, I was terrified. I was completely terrified. Because I was like, this is going to be something I can't get over. it was like I'm just not gonna let it go. I'll never get over it. And then I'm wondering, where did he go? You know what I mean? Like, did he go to heaven? Did he go to hell? Where did he go? So again, a whole week passes by. I'm still the same. Then somebody calls my cousin because they're afraid that I'm going to be next. Like, I'm going to do something. Like, so basically, I'm on suicide watch at this point because I'm not saying anything to anybody. I don't care to say anything to anybody. And I just wanted to be left alone. And nobody would leave me alone. So they just kind of sat in the house, making sure I didn't do anything without making it look that way. They would clean, cook, whatever, and then I'm just sitting there. And then had to turn the TV on, but not even watch the TV, and just sit there. That's all I did. And I could not get out of this living hell in my head. Like, it was just, I can't even put it into words what it was like. Like, it's just a deep, dark place where you just think there's no hope, there's no coming back. That's what it felt like. So, a few more weeks went by, and I'm going to work, all that stuff, but I'm still not myself. Everybody knows that. Like, I won't talk to anybody. It's almost like I just shut down. And then, out of the blue, I just get this idea. I still can't even remember how I made it happen. I can't remember who I called to make it happen, but it did. Basically, was I felt like I needed to talk to a preacher. I was like, because I just felt like anything that anybody had to say could not help me whatsoever. Like, because my friends weren't the most religious, or reading the Bible all the time or anything like that. So it's like they would try to console with me or whatever, but it just wasn't working. So I went to this preacher, and I think it was 3 in the afternoon. I went to this preacher, and I started talking to him. And I was telling him how I felt and everything, and I didn't know how to deal with any of it or whatever. Like, it was, I literally told him I was trapped in hell. Like, I literally in hell is what it felt like in my mind. So he starts talking to me about the Bible and all that stuff.